Should be live on Facebook right about now. All right, hey everybody. Getting everything finished, plugging back in, setting back up, getting the jive groove going. I don't know what I'm saying. I've been watching too much WKRP Cincinnati lately. I tried to get our intro video done today, and I got it done. And I got it put on the tablet, and I don't know how to make it run in Switcher, even though it pulled in the video. So next week, everybody, next week we're trying hard to do some cool stuff and get some good stuff going there. Oh man, what? No, wrong button. We're not gonna be right back. We're gonna be right here. Oh man, so we're talking about today how everything changes. That's the only constant in this whole entire world, right, Tom? Is that everything changes. Oh, let's turn some of this down. All right, getting stuff going here. Let me get you.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear me? I'm here.
Are you?
I'm somewhere. I wouldn't say I'm totally here, but
Right.
I try.
Let's see here.
Got my new glasses too. See if anybody knows.
Oh, you know what? You even told me you were going to glasses. I didn't even notice. That's how much I just don't look at you. So it changes. Hey, why are you playing audio over there? Stop playing audio over there.
Hey now.
It's a rock star. Get your game on. Go play. Where's my chitty chat? Hey, I'm playing audio too. Why am I doing that? So, I did change up the studio last night for a special one-off project, and it's kind of hard to set it back up without you sitting here and without me sitting here, running back and forth. So, yeah, 'cause, you forget, and this does kind of apply to what we're talking about today. You forget how much you get comfortable in the process, how much it becomes set it and forget it, right? I'm trying to get our dashboard pulled up here so we can get that going. I think this is right. Let's do that. Okay, so we have everything set in the studio where we basically just come in, sit down, turn it on. Yep, everything sounds good, and we go from there. I don't know why I can hear that air conditioner a lot more today than normal.
Have you got it on? It's on low.
Yeah, I got it on low.
It seems.
It does
louder
seem
today.
louder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, maybe it's working harder even on low. So, but it's all good there. But yeah, we get used to how everything just is, and I think I went live maybe before Facebook was ready for live because it seems to be about 30-second delay, which would be because I did set up the live thing earlier, so it counts down and does all that cool stuff. So I've got that going on there. And you're inviting people in as you should.
Trying to, but Facebook apparently has changed something because now it's just letting me do a watch party.
I see something about start a watch party. So I don't know.
That. Hey,
yeah,
Mike.
I don't like that either.
How do you say Rolay?
Rolay. I like to call him Rolo just because I do. He's my white chocolate. You know what I'm saying? No, but the proper way to say it is instructor Rolay.
Instructor Rolay? Yeah, he is.
Instructor?
Instructor. He is now an instructor.
Yes, sir. He is full on in the biz, man. Congrats on getting that taken care of. See, everything changes. Everything changes. There are changes coming to how you become an instructor January 1st.
It's on the way.
We don't know what that change is yet.
Nope.
Because we haven't had the instructor updates to let us know what that is. But yeah, it is like you said, it is on the way, coming.
You were talking about what we talking about today. Changes. Facebook, I don't like your change.
Yeah, that's interesting that we are talking about changes somewhat. And they do. They instantly change this to a watch party to where we can't just invite people in to come hang out. Well, did you change your profile to yourself? Maybe I don't know. I'm changing it to myself and see if I can invite people. Nope. That's a whole nother page. No, it didn't change anything. It just left it as a watch party. You did a watch party once when Barb was
it didn't do
singing.
well. Oh, the white. I mean, I did it once with us, and it didn't do well.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I'm doing it now, and it's not letting me do very well either. Hmm.
Yeah. It's not like you can actually invite people in like before. But yeah. I thought we'd talk about a little bit about old school versus new school, bad mental. Oh, once I started a watch party, now I can invite people in. But mental habits that you've changed that were maybe bad before that you become better at, that you've changed your mindset. We're going to talk about education, how education standards change both in the classroom and in continuing education. Techniques change, right? But the tagline I put was, we not only need to learn a new way of doing things, right? I mean, we've gone to, I don't know what the actual term is, but I call them the decab needles because that's where I've used them the most. But that hit the button, everything retracts back in needle. Back in our day, it was just a straight needle. Safety was sharps in the sharps bucket. Nobody got stuck. Okay, that was safety, right?
Right.
Now it's because there's too many morons out there, too many people who don't take care of themselves or others. Now it's very much a slide it back or hit the button and pop it back, or as the needle tip that closes when it comes through. So everything changes. And what happens, Tom, every time a change occurs?
People push back.
Oh, I liked it the old way.
I like the old way Facebook did it.
Well, there's that. I don't understand watch parties, but it is letting me invite a whole lot of more different people than I was able to ever invite before.
Before I was able to invite like all my friends.
Before, I was able to invite like 12 people. That was my entire list, maybe 20.
That's all the friends you have.
No, well, okay, all the real friends in the
Everybody
world.
else is blocked.
You don't make that quite cut, but
they just act like they're your friends.
Yo, you say he's just a friend. Anyway,
And you say he's just a friend.
Oh, baby, you. Oh, Lord, nobody wants that. What's something that you pushed back on that you can think of that was a change that now you're like, nope, I totally get it. I totally am down.
Facebook.
As a whole, or you're just going to keep focusing on this watch party thing?
Facebook as a whole, too. I mean, I was like, at first, I was kind of like, I ain't putting my stuff out there. I ain't doing that. Now it's like every day I'm in Facebook.
Yeah, you've built a really strong presence for the school. That's becoming a cultural EMS center for our community. I meant to say community EMS center, I said cultural, but community EMS center for people all over the United States to come together and discuss issues. Of course, yeah, we use it to put out that we're having classes. Of course, as you would, as a business. You promote, we have classes. We've got National Registry coming up. Be registered by September 7th, and you can take the registry towards the middle of the month. I forget the actual date, because I'm more concerned with the closeout date than the actual date, so I remember that. But we promote those kind of things, but we've been putting up memes. Did you see the one about the yeah, I think you did see the one about the sanity. This is where we keep our sanity. As you can see, we're all out right now.
Yeah, they said, oh, Tom keeps that in his office, locked up.
But it's very, very sparing. I don't think you do, though, because you still, seem to like to aggravate people with Roll Tide all the time.
Roll Tide, roll. Hey, it's getting close. It's getting close.
It's so easy to be proud of a team when all they do is win.
Yeah. Well, I got my Georgia mug today.
That's green and empty.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, it's
it
not
doesn't
empty.
leave a ring.
Leave a ring.
Oh, so brutal. So on point. But so brutal.
So another thing that that I saw a lot of pushback on. At first, I gave a little pushback, and then I got on the bandwagon. Was selective spinal immobilization.
Okay. I didn't even know about it. I didn't have time to push back or even worry about pushing back. That came through a slide somebody had promoted or pushed up that was it was at a conference or something. It was talking about that, and I shared it to our page, or I shared it to you directly. Like, whoa, what is that? And you're like,
Right.
yeah, now they're talking about it. And the second, it's called the elevator pitch, right? Which is a 2 minute or less pitch on why something's done. But really, this was a 1 sentence pitch. It was, hey, it takes like 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours to get somebody off a backboard. And that's stupid uncomfortable. Well, it's been showing it's more than just stupid uncomfortable. It's actually doing tissue damage
Yep.
and long-term effects and blah, blah, blah. And it's not actually showing
Causing
good help.
backups in the ER.
And then it's like, oh, you know what? I get that. That makes a whole lot of sense. Let's get them off as fast as possible. Or maybe not even put them on in the first place. But because what's the rule in EMS until they come out and change the standard, which is almost there. They haven't changed the standard yet. They're still doing studies, I guess, on selective immobilization.
No, there's a lot out there. Does
it come down to each system, to each service, to their protocols?
There's a lot of services, though. You meet that criteria, they just put a C-collar on you and put you on the stretcher.
See, and that's good because the rule, as was universal before in Georgia, has been if they complain, my neck, my back, my lawyer, right? It knocks some dust off your bumper. And I have one of those. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Especially like at the drive-through.
Yeah. Barely knock some dust off the bumper. And, my neck, we'd C-collar them. We'd put the backboard on. And I'll be honest, I've had some overweight patients through the my neck, my back, my lawyer thing of, my favorite one was a little girl. I felt bad for her because my mama said my neck hurts. That was what she told me verbatim. I looked at her mama and looked at her. I'm like, well, you could tell me, does your neck hurt? She looks at her mama and she looks at me because my mama said, you know what I have to do here, right? She's going to be on this board for 3 hours. Every little bump, everything is certain. This isn't necessary. And mama just looked away like I didn't exist. I hated that one. But I've had some overweight patients who've done it like, look, I am not lifting you into the ambulance. Here's the backboard. We'll put it on a stretcher. Come in, sit down on it, and we'll take care of everything there. Because there was no mechanism in injury. There was no way that if your neck hurts and you had any kind of C-spine injury, that it came from this.
Right.
So, and I remember being taught, and tell me what you were taught differently, if you were taught differently. But I was taught, you have to be super careful with the C-spine because it could just be hanging on by a thread, and they just turn to talk to you, and they fall out dead.
Or they go bend over to pick up a penny, and they may be paralyzed
for
the rest of their
life. I thought that sounded like a bunch of horse hockey when I heard it. I think it kind of is horse hockey.
The studies show that only happens less than 1% of 1% of the time.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
And then doing more research on this whole backboard thing about the pushback, the study that showed we need to backboard everybody, I think it was only 100 patients, which is not a good study at all for this nationwide standard of care that we have in EMS. But studies show it was 100 people, and like two of them showed improvement. Like two of them showed enough injury that protected them.
Wow, yeah.
Right? I think those are the numbers because it stuck in my brain that way. Because I'm like, holy crap, that's what this entire protocol that services hundreds of thousands of people across this nation. And I imagine that protocol goes throughout the world to other countries as well. Because people learn from, other countries learn from the U.S. and our styles of doing things. So you're saying we're affecting hundreds of thousands of patients, putting them on the backboard when it's not needed, finding out we're actually doing long-term damage to them or possible long-term damage, and two people maybe got helped by this in 1960.
Well, it's kind of like, amiodarone versus lidocaine. I mean, there's not really a lot of definitive proof that one is better than the other. But you got people who are on the amiodarone bandwagon. You got people on the lidocaine bandwagon. So it's just all up to, what people think. I mean, what their preferences are. And they get in their little camps and they get entrenched in, what's that sound like? But anyway, they get entrenched and they, don't want to listen to anybody else or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. It can definitely be
Another one was
BMS.
CPR when CPR changed, and ACLS when we went from got to get an airway, got to get an airway, got to get an airway to no, we need to focus on compressions,
Compressions.
compressions,
Yeah.
compressions, and boy has that made a change.
Yeah, now that's science, right? That's just longer studies, longer things going on. How long does a drug have to be studied to understand long-term effects? Is it 20 years, 30
It could.
years? I mean, there's an FDA
Depends
standard
on,
to say we now know long-term
I
effects
think,
are
I
blah.
think all of them depends on how well they do in the trials, and
It's crazy. It's crazy. But I want to say it's at least 10 years, if not more, of active use in the field. So that drug that's FDA approved has they've worked on it for 8, 10, 12 years, but that's still not the long-term study. The long-term study comes after it's approved, and we've been using it.
right.
Aspirin. You remember Bayer aspirin in the 1980s? Basically, just it's like an apple. One a day keeps the doctor away. And people were in. Then it turned out aspirin eats your intestines. And it's still good for very, very low doses. It's good for the heart. We use that with nitro and morphine for chest pain,
Right.
right? But it is not something you typically keep in the house anymore. It's been shown that Tylenol and Motrin are much better. But then it turns out Motrin kills your liver if you take it
And it tears your
way too
stomach up,
much.
too.
And can tear your stomach up. Exactly. So it's like, what? What?
Tylenol kill your liver,
So we're just supposed to suffer in pain all the time?
probably.
Well, none of those are natural drugs. I don't know what a natural pain thing is, but I know they're out there.
There's some.
Poultices and what that they used to
Yeah.
make, and what's one you can think of? Poppy seed? No, not poppy seeds, Tom. Don't be an opiate.
Oh, marijuana's natural.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine? I just see it coming. Can you imagine the day whenever we're gonna have like a albuterol thing?
Well, so that has long-term health effects, but see again, entrenched, right? Hemp is illegal, which leads to marijuana. They used the whole
I
marijuana
don't
thing
think
to
hemp
get
is
illegal.
anymore. That's why you can.
No,
get
they brought it, whatever. But
Yeah.
to get hemp, you had to grow certain types of plants. The whole thing was illegal because DuPont, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, he was big in cotton. He had all the cotton mills. DuPont Paint was founded by the DuPont family. And I can't remember which specific guy it was, but it was the head of the famous one, right? The head of
Right.
the DuPont family. Basically, saw that hemp was replenishable, right? Didn't destroy the earth like cotton can. It didn't have all these other issues, and it can compete with cotton in every way. But one of the side products is if it's fertilized in a different way, you get marijuana. You get the psychotropic effects. So he used that to stop his competition. And for a long time, the whole thing was illegal. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, hemp started making its way back into legality. But when you talk about pain management, when you talk about those kind of things, medical benefits, you're talking about oils, the stuff without the psychotropic effects. You're talking about the CBD oils. You're talking about the things that affect the muscles and the nerves and help with seizures and other things. But now the one that does have a psychotropic effect, they have shown they being scientists out there, are showing the long-term effects are, it helps with cataracts. It helps with stuff. I know I like first-hand stories. And I actually have a friend of mine who's older, and her personal story is she was on 18 to 20 different prescription drugs for everything that's going on in her body. And she lives out in California or somewhere that was early on doing, okay, here's medical marijuana. And it is the smoking kind, so it has the psychotropic effects as well to it. But she was able, with her doctor's supervision and help, by smoking, she was at his prescription. It's not just stay baked all the time, but it was, here's when you do it, here's how much you do it. And from what I understand, and I'm an amateur, I don't understand fully of all this, but from what I understand, you've got medical marijuana is a smaller dose of psychotropic because it's trying to focus more on the medical
Right.
help of it. But she came down from, let's call it 17. She came down to three big pharma prescription medications, and the rest of it became homeostasis. You know, there's something that there's something that to that, right? That when you look at that, now Georgia's finally got the CBD oil, but that's that's a change that was going to get huge pushback, and it's gotten huge pushback every step of the way. Well, let's save the kids. Well, nobody's going to argue against that. So it's I'm sure there's more than just saving kids, but there's those effects. Isn't aromatherapy being tested in the back of some ambulances?
Yeah.
I hate that idea. I hate that idea with a passion. Not
Why?
because I think it's not just. Okay, now I'm sorry. I'm trying to invite people, and it's circling back around the names I've already hit.
Yeah.
So I
Is
stopped
there-
inviting people.
Yeah, me
So
too.
weird. And the
So-
comments. See, this thing on the watch party, the comments don't show up on the mainstream. So I don't know. Because I got a comment over here. Ed Miller says, "You're kind of danged if you do, danged if you don't. I've been on heavy prescription pain pills and now just Tylenol. The problem is the amount of Tylenol I have to take is hitting levels that causes other problems like ulcers and liver damage. You know, and you have to learn a lot of techniques to mitigate pain. Big one, stress management, which is part of the psychotropic effect
Right.
of marijuana is stress management. But the reason I hate aromatherapy is the smells. I
That's the
hate.
whole point.
I just, it's just the thing, man. I don't like Axe body spray. I don't like. I hate. Even the nice little flowery thing that's in Jeremy's office. It just hits me like I'm walking through thick air, and I don't like it. I don't like patchouli smells. I don't. It's. There's almost something to be said naturally about walking into a place and having it smell like sweaty ass. It's like, well, I get that. I don't like it. It's not what I want to smell. But I can, my body, my senses, I guess I should say, can process that better
Right.
than Axe body spray or scented oils. Now, what is the actual, Marcel's laughing at me here. And that's the point. He's saying, he's agreeing with you about the smells. That's the point. What is the actual provable benefit to these essential oils? And does it have to smell?
I think that's the whole point. Like, I know that some of it works. Like, you got somebody who's really congested.
Okay.
Peppermint oil is going to work. It does.
Okay.
I never would have thought it, but Barbie did it for me one day, and it worked when I was sick. And I was like, wow. Opened up my sinuses. I could breathe.
Okay.
Nausea. There's some essential oils out there that help with nausea as well. So,
I don't know. I'd rather vomit, I think. I mean, that's me saying it sitting here right now. And who knows what will happen if I need something. And science, I don't. It's also in how you present it. And a lot of people that I know who've bought into essential oils, it becomes a religion to them. That bothers me. You can't tell me why it works. You can't show me this scientific thing. One, Dr. Oz, don't quote him to me. Yeah, he's a real doctor. He knows what he's talking about, but he's a TV doctor. His whole thing is ratings. Just because he likes something don't mean crap to me. I want to see an article I can read. I want to see a medical journal article.
Read?
I do read.
Wow.
Not as much as you, but I do. Only when I'm looking up something like peppermint oil. Ed Miller says peppermint oil is very well. I mean, we don't need to pick apart the specifics, but he says you get a diminishing return. But it's
you're seeing people reply.
on my watch party. Yeah. So
Okay.
the people I invited to my watch party are replying.
Then
But I'm
I
not
got
seeing your replies, and they're not showing up on the main stream.
Then
Michael
I've got the
Rolla.
mainstream. I see Michael.
Michael Rollet was on the main. He's the last thing there's thank you. But yeah, on my watch party, I'm with you. I liked before we could steer everybody to the actual video. See,
Right.
everything changes, and not all changes good. Well, here we are doing a joint video through a main page that we're both in on. We're admins on, and when we go to invite people, instead of inviting them to the main page, it's throwing them on two different watch parties.
Yeah.
I really don't know
There's
how
a
that
thing
works.
up here about adding a co-host,
I see that too,
but you don't show up.
right, neither do you because you're not watching my watch party. So I don't know how to I don't.
I see where you invited me. So I guess in the future, one of us needs to invite each other, and then we can.
I guess, and I can't even get back to the main thing. So that's the thing, right? So entrenchment, right? I don't like the smells of natural oils. I mean, it might not be the oil. The oil
Now
might
I
be
know
fine.
what to do.
I will shoot you with my hemp laden Nerf gun.
It's on like a chicken bone now,
Yeah.
buddy.
I never once threatened you with mayonnaise. I've always pitied you because I understand what that does. And people do it to you all the time. Don't start a smell war, man. We're gonna get into some
I
problems.
already got to live through a smell war between you and Jeremy.
Sorry. I mean, whose stomach's the size of a peanut
you know.
and everything flows through? All three of us. That's fair. That's a. Everybody's on
I
even
don't
ground
stink,
there.
though.
All right.
But hey, I'm not throwing a thing out for Chick-fil-A because I wouldn't do that. Not like they're teas in here or food's in my belly most of the time. But man, their mac and cheese today was good. You missed out on
I
that.
might have to try it.
Yeah, some good mac and cheese. But yeah, getting entrenched sometimes can get you in trouble. Sometimes, like with this, it can. Maybe we need to be entrenched. You know, I
don't know. But that's the medical marijuana. That's the same thing. You get people misunderstanding why it was made illegal, and there's still going to be people who don't like it, and that's fine. There's going to be people who have religious beliefs against it. That's fine. But you get that entrenchment, and you don't listen to what's going on. Alcohol was banned for a while, and it came back because the people spoke. Basically, well, they spoke in the way of speakeasies and illegality, and it became super dangerous. So that the government went, okay, let's make it less dangerous. And there's been more and more and more rules, but our society is changing today to go. Remember when the California ban came, was what they could start in California, but where basically no smoking around government buildings and no smoking in public restaurants and public places anymore.
Right.
Though I remember the world around me went nuts. It seems like all of a sudden everybody in Georgia wanted to smoke. It's like, what? In Madison, there's a truck stop it's like a Denny's, it's a J&J or whatever. It had decent food, and we'd go there, and they give us a discount, so we'd go there too. And it had a smoking section, non-smoking section, and a table like this separating us. And you could be smoking, and I'm in the non-smoking.
Like El Charo was the same way here.
Right. And that's crazy. So I remember when that ban came around, people were like, well, what are we going to do? Well, it didn't affect bars. So bars get to make their own rules about smoking and not smoking. But now it's a way of life. Now, if you walk up to a business and somebody's even looking like they're going to smoke, most people don't hesitate to go, hey, man, you can't do that. You got to go over around the corner and do that. And smokers are like, well, I have the same rights. Yeah, but you chose to do that. You can't choose for me to smell that or have secondhand smoke, those kind of things.
It's not like I can choose to not breathe.
Yeah.
For very long, anyway.
And it does make a mess. Halloween 2 years ago, I think it was, when we first did the Halloween house here, people were sitting out front of our building smoking, apparently.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just butts everywhere. That's the other thing. I don't think anybody would complain if you stood out on the sidewalk and smoked if you took care of your trash. You're a little bit away from people. Down once you're not blowing it in the doorway. How many times have you walked past or gone into a restaurant right by the door? They have that drop your butts in thing, and it hits you like the old stale cigarettes. Everything changes, and Amanda, you're correct. Booze became legal, so the government could. That's part of it, so they could start taxing it and getting their money off of it. But everything gets sold with safety, right? We got to protect the people. But that entrenchment. But see, I'm also against the people who think weed's everything. I went to this supposed to be an informational gathering about explaining what the legalities in Georgia of CBD oil is. And Georgia is still in the process. It was part of the law that there's going to be some farms, right? I think it's a 60-40 thing where 60% are going to be big corporate or / university controlled farms.
Right.
So they're very government controlled. And then 40% could be individual farms, those kind of things. And it's supposed to be an information on how it works. So I'm interested to know what the future holds. And I went there. And most of the speakers would just be like, pot cures everything. Thank you. I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything. Now, there were some good speakers. But the host of the event, while I never saw her smoke. I saw the effects that she was smoking or doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a big pothead smoke out thing. It was supposed to be this informational thing, but they were still somewhere doing it because halfway through the whole thing, you could tell she's slurring her speech a little bit and kind of losing her process of thought. And like, this doesn't help. That entrenchment of smoke outs, and remember when Woody Harrelson used to have those sit-ins in the late 90s, early 2000s, try to legalize weed? That doesn't help. You saying it's of the devil doesn't help. If we come together and figure out what's going on, that's how we learned. We don't use heroin to get people off of opioid addictions. Or not heroin, what was it? Methadone. We don't use methadone. Was it methadone? There's one that there was
methadone
addiction.
is what you use.
Okay, there was one that back in the early 1900s, cocaine maybe. There was some kind of, it was up there with morphine and everything as far as pain management, but it's super addictive. And we started using like heroin to get them off, or vice versa. I don't remember. Obviously, I'm mixing up my drugs here, but
He has some timers. It's okay.
I don't carers because I don't remember. I should. That's the where I do care about because it's a fun fact. But basically, hospitals were giving this what we know now to be a super addictive drug as well, as pain management to get people off of this other addictive drug. And it's those things of we got to pay attention. We have to learn the effects. We have to figure it out. And even methadone can be bad.
Yeah,
and if not done correctly.
It's easier to get off of than other opioids and heroin, but you know.
Yeah. Coca-Cola had
Used to be
cocaine in it.
Yep.
Yeah. So when people, I want original Coke back, you don't know what you're talking about because that it was medicinal. Cocaine was
good for your
medicinal then.
stomach.
Yep. Yeah, it's good for everything until you couldn't quit drinking Coke or shooting it in your veins or whatever.
Like,
laudanum was out there.
when are they going to come up and say, take our caffeine away from us?
You know, is that a horrible thing? I used to push back hard. I don't really like decaf coffee. I can tell a taste difference. But I'm watching my friends who are non-religious about it. That's the key to me. You're not entrenched, right? And we're going to bring this back to paramedicine and how people get entrenched in their ways. But it's that I got to have my coffee. I got to have my this. Well, I watch my friends who go, you know what? I'm just going to try not eating meat. It's not because I love animals. It's not because I'm a vegan. I'm just going to see what it does for my health. And okay, I've seen that I miss some of it. And so they find that moderation that they're listening to their body. They eat a lot of vegetables, and they'll eat a steak once or twice a week or something along those lines, right? And they've done the same with, they've tried veganism. They've cut back their sugar. I know somebody personally who made deals with God, right, for situations in their life. So they stopped sugar, they stopped meat, they stopped this. They're still unhealthy as crap.
Right.
They're still overweight and look horrible. But the ones who are doing, finding that body response, that makes me go, maybe I should drink more water and take in less processed sugar. Maybe I should cut back. And I've cut back on my sweet tea intake. I've cut back on my sodas. I'm not I'm not taking your tea.
Don't take my tea.
But what I've done is move to the positive. I've tried to drink more water, and I find a response in that. It's helped me manage my weight. I haven't lost any weight, but I'm not back up to my heaviest, which was when I was on the truck. I was like 370. I think I'm managing to stay under 340. I'd like to be under 300, but I'm not putting the effort in, to be honest. But yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. So entrenchment, right? Let's bring that to medicine. I know you can think of people that even as you came up, you're a new captain, you're studying. Oh man, look at this study, and you bring it to either medics or to your superiors, and they go, they do the T thing. I'm not letting go.
No, they don't want to let go. Yeah, like 12 lead EKGs.
Oh, I remember when that came around.
Yeah.
I just didn't want. I wanted to do it
Printing
because it's
them out.
interesting, but it's hard to remember.
Yeah, and refusals, doing your refusal paperwork and giving your home care instructions. Yeah, people didn't want to, they get entrenched. They don't want to do this, and sometimes it's just getting out of that comfort zone. And that comfort zone, you get complacent. Life is change. And trust me, there's days I don't want to do stuff either. I mean, like right now, we're dealing with changing a operating system or for distributing our continuing education stuff.
Yeah.
Fighting, but you can't. We've got changes coming through our licensing standards. It's going to happen. Anytime somebody new takes office, there's going to be changes.
Yes.
When there's a new president, a new governor, new senators and stuff.
Well, I thought you
It's
were
always gonna be
referring to
changes.
the office of DPH is getting a new
I forgot
leader.
about that. There's going to be a new leader. There'll be
Yeah,
changes.
and there'll be changes.
There'll be a new director there. And there's going to be changes there. Some is good, some is bad. But change is life, and we just have to embrace it, and we have to try to support it.
Some is long term, and some is temporary.
Yeah.
That's with this is why people get. I just as soon as people really start harping on politics and this, I just step back and move away. It's like, because the reality is, like you just said, every president makes changes, but only little bits make it through long term.
Right.
Now, some of that's bad, some of that's good, right? People loved at one point loved to hate on Reagan until he passed away, and then he was like the most beloved president ever. But the truth was, he had some of the highest ratings, and it felt like he served the people. From what I saw independently, from what I looked at. But people are, oh, trickle down. Well, the economy worked. I don't understand what your problem with that is. But things changed, right? Tax cuts that Bush Sr. did or actually he reversed them himself, and that's why he got voted out of office. His whole platform was no new taxes, and then he did new taxes. Bill Clinton, people remember Monica Lewinsky scandal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what else he did? He's the reason we can buy stuff on Amazon. He's the president that signed into law that our digital signature counted as our signature, and we can now buy things on the internet. Other stuff has been reversed that he's done. Exactly. Yeah. But the internet thing stayed. The NATO stuff didn't.
Charles has got some dirt on the Clintons, by the way.
Don't shoot me. Don't. No. My name is not Vince. Don't shoot me. There's some shady. Anyway, shut up, man. Think about a time when you worked for a company, and the commander changed, the director changed, stuff changed. Have you ever worked for a service that got bought out?
Yeah.
See, I've never done that. What was that like?
Changed uniforms. I worked for Caroline.
Okay.
It was weird because everybody always thinks AMR bought Caroline, but it was the other way around. Caroline was owned by Medtrans. Medtrans was the parent company. Actually, Medtrans bought AMR, but they kept the AMR name because it was a bigger company and had more, fingers and everything, and longer standing as well. So I went from Caroline to AMR. And
so they kept the brand of AMR, but it was the Caroline company.
It was the Caroline company, basically. But there was a lot of AMR people came over. There was a lot of bickering, a lot of stuff. Sometimes you didn't know. I left the Birmingham operations and went to Mobile and worked down there. And they had just at the same time, bought a small private company down there called Fountain Ambulance Service.
Okay.
And that's where I came in and started working at.
So not much change other than some personnel, and that's what I hear about ambulance companies when that happens. Bigger changes come when the company's established and you get a new commander or a new director or those kind of things. People put I like to call it, they put their stank on things. You feel like there has to be something that changes. And when I took over, like for Dragon Con Digital Media Track, that whole first year, I tried to keep it as near the same as I could. I just added content that I thought was missing.
Right.
But then at the end of that year, I made announcements like, okay, some changes are coming, and this is what I'm proposing to get people used to it. But slowly but surely, I've got a bigger plan in place that it's going to look, by the end of this year, it's going to look 1,000 times different than when it was when I took over. But that's because I have a vision that's different than the ones who had it before me.
Right.
And that's how things go. But seniority, right? That's the one thing I'm really sensitive to because I've always hated that in my career. I was always, until halfway through my active career, I was always the youngest person. It was weird. I was always the youngest person. I was the youngest paramedic in the company. I was the youngest EMT in the company. I was just a go-getter.
Now you're just old.
And now I'm wise in my years, is what I am. I've got my experiences behind me. And it always killed me when I come as a medic, especially after I've been a medic for a while. And I was thinking specifically when I went to Jasper County, and somebody tried to pull seniority on me. Well, I've been here longer, and in choice four-letter words, I basically told them I did not care. It's what are you doing right now that matters.
Right.
What are you doing? You know what? Because I've waited. My whole policy with any company, any place I go, except for here, because it's a whole different situation when you brought me in here, is I'm going to shut up and do the job you hired me for 6 months and get a lay of the land. See how the politics work in the company. See how they respond to problems. That's my dormant period of let me see how this works. After that, then it's full on me. I run my mouth. I do what I want to do. And because I figured out, here's how I help the company. Here's how their vision works. You told me you're working towards this. I'm going to help you there. So anything that doesn't fall into that, I'm going to call it out. And I want to hear what you think about it. I hate seniority. I hate when people are like, well, I've been here long. Now, in the sense of, in a fire department, which I've never worked in, it seems a little different because the more years you work, the more rewards you get. So if it comes up for shift bid or vacation time, there's a specific system in place that says, okay, because you put in all these years and served us well, your reward is you get to pick shift first.
Right.
I get that. But when it's just, I've been here longer, there's the door, get out.
Well, I think seniority plays an important part in any organization because you want to reward people for longevity and doing a good job long term. So if you've got somebody who's worked for you for 10 years and then somebody comes in and they've been there for 6 months and they're like, well, I want off.
Have they worked well?
I want off. Maybe they have worked well, but the other guy that's been here for 10 years is working well too. So
No, that's what I mean. No, the 10-year guy. That's my point. My question is not, I don't care that you've been here 10 years. In those 10 years, were you loyal to the company? Did you help with the vision? Did you bring your all to the table or the best to the table that you could? That'll get you rewarded in 6 months for me because it's a value for value versus, some seniority is I've just been here longer. But I'm the shining star because I'm coming in and I'm actually doing what did Douglas say yesterday at the meeting. He's always talking to Forsyth and the Gypstick and everywhere, and he's getting training things done. And the story, I don't remember if he told it fully, so I'll tell it quickly here. The story goes, let's say in 2016, some person from training came around to all the departments, all the chiefs, and they sent out emails and notifications, all that stuff. That in 2018, this standard is changing, and you have to, because it's going to take a lot of work, you have to do da-da-da-da-da. Well, then, and for 2 years, he's trying to get his volunteer chiefs to do what they're supposed to do, and they're ignoring him, as people do. A lot of them have been there longer. They've been there since they're 18 years old, and now they're 80. And he's the young whippersnapper, even though he's been there all his life. It doesn't matter. All this stuff's going on. And then it comes up to that deadline, and they're like, what's going on? We didn't know anything about this. And we can't do this. He's like, I worked on this for 2 years. You've been told for 2 years. Don't come crying to me. And their response to him was, well, if you didn't go up there stirring up the pot all the time, they'd just leave us alone. That's that. You're not doing your job. You're just here. Seniority doesn't mean crap to me when that happens.
Well, I mean, you got to look at all of it. But, I've been around people, too, where they come in, they get hired at a place, and they got hired because they were somebody's buddy or friend and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'd been there for 4 or 5 years, and they got promoted over me after they'd been there less than a year. No good explanation except for, everybody likes him better.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But are they doing the job?
So I sat down. So I just kept my mouth shut and said, you know what? At that point, I was the director of education for that service. And I was already what they called an alternate field supervisor. So whenever a field supervisor was out, I would fill in for them.
Sure.
But I mainly handled training. Well, I didn't get the field supervisor job, which was a pay raise. My position, I didn't get much of a pay raise because it was training, So, and at the time, I needed money. So I ended up getting stuck there.
Quarter fingers money, like it's not real. I needed quotey
Well,
money.
it's quoting money because it just went through my hands. It's
Sure.
not like I saw it.
Sure.
But so he got promoted and he was there. He wasn't even there a year. Went somewhere else. Left.
Yeah.
So I put in for it again. I finally got it this time, and I stayed there for a while. You know,
Man.
it was everybody knew it. So I don't. I believe that seniority does have something to do with it, but I also don't believe it. I am willing to I'm willing to hire somebody off the street into a position. It's all about qualifications and can you do the job.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes time to be getting off work or stuff, you've got to have a standard. What is your position? If you're a captain, and then you get
if
first
all
pick.
things are everything else is equal, that's when you go there.
But you get people, Charles, that come into organization. I've been here for 2 weeks. Where's my corner office? No, it doesn't work that way.
It's a street corner outside.
Yeah,
that's where it is.
It doesn't work that way. I've been here for eight weeks. I want to be in the nice unit. I want to, no, it doesn't work that way.
How do you feel, not about paying your dues, because to me, paying your dues not only is a real thing about you joining associations and whatnot, but paying your dues is that idea of put in the work, show us that you're a part of the team. But what do you feel about you got to earn your spot? I don't know another phrase for it, but it's like not quite hazing, because hazing's the bad stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about, well, you're not worth anything till you prove yourself? And that's more of a peer-to-peer, not so much a captain, but it can be.
Well, it's like
You're the
whenever
new
you
kid.
come in, when you come in as the rookie, I remember being a rookie, and I remember my job coming in. I was like, your job first thing in the morning is the bathroom's got to be cleaned every morning. That was our job as the rookies. We had to go in, make sure the bathrooms are clean, stocked. That was our job.
And then as you moved up and more rookies came in, they took on that
They
job.
took over that job, and then
But why can't everybody do that job? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking.
because that's the rookie's job. If you can't clean the bathroom well, then how can you be trusted to do anything else?
I thought
It's
the
just like
rookie's
when
job was rewinding the siren
Oh,
on the front.
that too, I guess. Checking the air brake fluid,
Yeah.
making sure that there's a hose stretcher.
Mark is talking about can an individual do the job should be all that matters. Tenure sometimes is just a reflection of treading water for years, and that's a whole different thing. Tenure is one of those things where you kind of quit trying. A lot of people joke about marriage. Dating is all about the work, and as soon as you get married, you quit trying. Well, that's backwards. I mean, in my opinion. So I have in my other company.
You do have that. I mean, I worked at another school that is here in Georgia, and there was a lot of people.
Kind of on the perimeter of Georgia,
somewhere? Yeah, somewhere like
okay.
that. Where the pyramid, how most places have a pyramid, at the top you've got the president, and then you got vice presidents, and then you got like deans and stuff like that. And then you get down here at the base, and you got like this huge base, which is all the workers, right? So you have a few leaders and a bunch of workers. Well, there it's upside down. You've got like a bunch of leaders, but hardly any workers, and you're stuck on the bottom. And you got people that, I've been here 20 years. So what are you doing now? Well,
that's my point.
So but that's an organizational issue. That's not something that you're going to fix. That's called, the way you fix that is you leave and you go somewhere else.
Yeah. Or you change the president and have them shake it up and be a disruptor.
Yeah, choose your battles, because you know what? All you're going to do is get fired, probably, or you're going to be miserable. But you know what? There are organizations out there that are your fit, that are a fit for you and will work. You just got to get out of your don't be comfortable. Get out and find it.
My thing, my personal way I work with people is if I pick you for something, if I work with you, I'm going to be harder on you than I am everybody else, because I believe you have a seat at the table. I believe you have, you belong here, right? And I'm not always giving you feedback. So I worked with a guy doing a show, and his thing was like, after the show was like, well, how was that? How was that? And I finally went, you want to feel good? Call your nanny. Call your nan, your grandma, whatever, your gram, whatever you call her, and let her bake you a cookie, because once we start off, hey, I'm giving you feedback, but once we're here, we're just moving forward. I'm not going to tell you to feel good every time. Go get good feelings from somebody else. We work together, and I expect that. Not that I ever want that here. It's definitely not my path. But it's if I were to be made partner in this school, I would expect you to expect me to work 2 times as hard as I do now. You know, it's as you move up, that's more work you're doing. And the company I run, I've got 3 partners, and we've had conversations about, no, this is where you work. This
Right.
isn't you earned your spot here. Going back to DragonCon, I have people being moderators, and I had an honest conversation with somebody else the other day. Like, well, you know, I kind of feel like an imposter. Like, then you need to leave
Right.
because you came working hard. I saw the hard work. I watched actually what you did. I believe you're going to bring something great to the table from what I've seen you do. But now you're here. You're going to work, and this is how it works. And he didn't. It's not that he didn't want to do the work. It was a more of a perception thing of a topic we were talking about. But I said, no, you got to drop that imposter crap. You're at the table because I believe you belong at the table. And if you don't trust me to see that, then you got to go. You know, seniority doesn't mean when it comes, because we live in the now.
When it comes to getting the job done, seniority means nothing.
That's maybe what I'm
As
getting
long as
to.
the job gets done, you can't. The thing is, I think what you're talking about, you're not talking about seniority. I think you got your terms or your concept mixed up. What you're talking about is RHP. Rank has privileges.
Okay.
So what you've got is a group of people who think, oh, I've been here 10 years and I don't have to do half the work. No, it's not that way. Yes,
Yeah.
the rookies have to clean the bathrooms. But you have to get off your butt, and you got to get the reports done. You've got to get payroll done. You've got to get evaluations done. You've got to organize training. You've got to make sure that their clothing is squared away, or their equipment is good, that stuff is ordered and stuff that they can't do, that they're not expected to do. So it's not acceptable for you to have the rookies cleaning the bathrooms while you're sitting in the recliner with your feet up, telling them to go do other stuff and do busy work. Busy work is stupid work. There's no sense in busy work, and if there's busy work to be done, you know what? We all need to get out there and do it.
Well, if
It's
somebody
just like here. How many times here have you seen it? Now, I know I have assignments for people to do some cleaning, but you know what? I clean too. You know what? Whenever the hard work and the heavy lifting has to be done, I'm in it out there too. That I own the place. I could easily say, you know what, y'all get this done. If it's not done by tomorrow, we're gonna have an honest conversation if you need to stay here. That I could do that, but I don't.
Okay, so at that moment we'd have an honest conversation if I needed to stay here. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna kick your feet up in the recliner? Nah, I'm good, man. I'm out. They're good. But that's not what you do at all.
No,
that's not,
what I do. But you know what? In the workplace, how many times do you think that happens? I guarantee you, go to some fire departments and play that. You would be gone.
And that's
if you push back, there's the door.
Maybe it is a rank has privilege thing, but what people have used, it's not always rank either, but people have used just time.
Well, rank
being
or
there.
time,
yeah.
same thing.
Because like when I ran into
time has privileges.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, and that is what, and it comes out of some of this. Well, seniority is I've been here longer, right? Some of that, and I mean one of the cases I'm specifically thinking about is this EMT who was in his 60s, and I was a 20-something-year-old medic. 28-year-old medic. And rough around the edges, sure. Ran my mouth, sure, but I did my job. Man, I always made sure that was my insurance, is I knew I rubbed feathers the wrong way. I knew I pissed people off. I knew I was a headache to my supervisors. But I also knew they were going to love me because I'm the one who's going to show up half an hour early and make sure this is done. I'm the one, you give me the lazy person, and either they're going to leave or they're going to shape up because we're going to scrub this truck with a toothbrush now that I know you're lazy. I don't want to scrub the truck either. I want to make sure it's clean and polished. But you give me grief, we're turning it up to 11, man. Let's go. And so I knew I balanced my mouth and my FU attitude with my stuff is shiny. My stuff is clean. My reports are done to the uber detail of things. And if they ask me to do something I don't want to do, I'm going to shut up and do it. And then I'm going to hold it over their heads later, but I want to do it. And that's the thing of when this EMT was like, I've been in this county for 40 years. You've been here 6 months. I'm like, for one of the only times I ever go, you see this patch on my shoulder? That means I went to school and I worked my butt off to get this patch. I never put down EMTs, but you're going to talk to me about how you've been here? You ain't done crap for 40 years, man. So shut up, get in the truck, and let's go. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. But talking about true seniority and the fire station I was stationed at, again, I didn't work for them, I worked with them. You would see the chiefs were always making sure, even to me, I'm not one of their firefighters, but they would see I was exhausted, and they go to my chief's room and shut the door, and nobody can see you, and get some sleep. They would do that to other firefighters. They would take care of. So top down, the leaders were serving their
that's what
underlings.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be.
And that's a mentality that has
to
change.
You're supposed
right?
to take care of the people below you, but the people below you are supposed to work hard as well.
Yeah.
I know. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it, because I had taken a screenshot of it, and I was going to.
While you look that up, Joy Taylor says this department needs to be watching this without doubt because they're lacking in a lot. I don't know what department, but don't call it out. Don't get in trouble. Yeah. But somebody's going to be sharing that across their office space or wherever.
So somebody posted, it's one of those people, that, one, not the person who posted it, but, one of those posts I think they may just automatically done, but leadership is not being in charge. It's about taking care of people in your charge, and that is correct. Yeah. But the people in your charge is supposed to take care of the leadership as well. The people in your charge is supposed to be doing like what Charles was talking about, making sure everything is done. Making sure that you come in and that you're cleaning what you're supposed to clean, that you're performing what you're supposed to do, that you're doing the paperwork that you're supposed to do, and that there's not going to be anything to come back on the leadership. And the leadership is supposed to take care of you, to give you the tools to do the job, make sure it's safe for you to do the job, give you rewards for doing the job, looking out for your best interests. That's what the leadership's supposed to do. But everybody that I'll see on Facebook that's whining and complaining about leadership, I like to ask, what did you do this week? Because leadership does not equate rank. You don't have to have rank to be a leader. You have to, you could be that person that's been there for 1 year and be a leader.
Yeah. Yeah, as just a medic, I had EMTs what I'd achieved the rank of captain, which basically just meant if a commander took off for a day, there was a small pool of people that would be the substitute commander. Right? They didn't have one person. So on my shift, basically every truck had a captain on it. So there's 3 captains underneath a commander at any given time. And we'd rotate. If she was going to be off, I'd get it one day. But before I even became commander, I think I stepped in and helped with commander. I didn't even have a full shift. I was like, you know what, let me help you out here. You take this, I'm going to do this. And so I was like assistant, whatever. And I had people come out and say, yeah, I'd follow you anywhere. Yeah, I do, because the way you handle it. And that's because I just try to take care of people, try to make it fair and balanced. And
but the thing is, what people don't like is part of that leadership, too, that, what does it say, leaders? Let me say that again. Leadership is not being in charge. It's about taking care of people in your charge. Yeah. But sometimes that means, because I remember being a captain, really pissing people off because we would have house day, and we would be halfway done with house day, and I'd be like, where is so-and-so?
Yeah.
Where are they at?
Yeah.
And what they had did is they went and ran a call, and they were at the hospital an hour and a half ago, and instead of coming back to the station to start doing cleaning, they were hanging out of the ER waiting on us to get all the cleaning done. And no, I said, stop it. Y'all are done for the day. They're going to finish this. And you know what? Whenever they came back, do you think they had anything good to say about me?
Of course not.
No,
you made them do their job.
I made them do their job. But sometimes that's being a leader. Being a leader is making sure that everybody's treated fairly, that everybody pulls their own weight. Because it wasn't fair for that core group of people that was there at the station doing all the house duties while the other crew was sitting over at the ER talking and having fun and giggling with the nurses.
Right.
Nope. Y'all, you know what? The longer you wait, it's going to be here waiting on you.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm like, you got till tomorrow at the end of your shift before you go home to get it done. And if your shift ends at 8 o'clock, this ain't done, you will be here until it's done. And you know what? But you know what? The other crews was like, hey, thanks for doing that, because that happens all the time. They're always skipping out whenever there's time for work to be done. But yet this core group of people, this crew would go back behind my back and say, oh, you know what? He's this, he's that, blah, 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 blah. You know what? So next shift,
Oh,
it's the
that's
same
another thing I
thing.
hate is shift wars.
Yep.
But we won't get into that right in a second because there's some. Donald W. says leaders lead by example, which I like how Richard Marchenko said it. Leadership is follow me. And I think that needs to be leaders live in a glass box.
Yeah.
You need to be clear, let people see what you're doing. Because the one thing I hated in my own self, as I said, oh, what are they doing sitting up in their office? And then later in life, as I saw leaders who I knew they're upstairs running things or in their office doing like making orders, getting stuff done. You maybe being that buffer between us and the senior administration that doesn't understand what we do. Those kind of things that we don't see. You can't hide that because then you get people who don't understand, and that's the thing that I think helps me the most is I'm very hands-on. I'm very much I want this show to go this way, so I'm going to get in here. I'm going to set things up the way I want. Well, when it's Dragon Con and I've got 7 volunteers that are helping and other people come by to give help and they're standing around while I'm setting up lights, that's backwards. Because then I drop the ball on going to a room that I'm not in to make sure that's set right. And I've had to learn to pull back. But then they see. They don't go, well, Charles is just off talking and hanging out. They know I'm a hotel over making sure the big room is ready for when we drop in there and do our thing because they're not going to set it up for us.
Right.
And those kind of things. And that's, you do that a lot here is we all give you grief. Every time you go on vacation, we're like, leave your laptop. Actually have some fun, Tom, because you're supposed to be with your family having fun, Tom, because we know you're in that truck driving down working because we'll get more calls from you when you're on vacation than when you're in the office. We've all said that.
Yeah.
So that's that clarity there.
When I was a captain on the truck, I used to be up all night most of the time because I'd be in there doing paperwork. During the day, I'd be helping make sure the crew, and then I had my stuff to do. And I would get on to people because somebody would say something about, these leadership things and stuff. I was like, what were you doing last night? Because while you were sleeping and snoring, I was in here doing evaluations. I was in here ordering supplies. I was getting drug orders completed and inventorying stuff.
Yeah, and people need to see that. That's the thing. And that's a mindset. So I want to get back, since we're on leadership, we've talked about bad leaders. We've talked about stuff we can think of. People, Joy T is saying, I was never shown how to do the reports on the medical or fire calls I went on myself. There's some, you referenced the buddy who gets brought in and they get promoted, which I'm very hard on. I've been clear with my kids. You ever work with me, like when I bring them here to even be bodies, be patients for the testing. I'm like, now I'm going to be harder on you than I am anybody else because I want you to be better. I want you to be better than I ever was. My partners in my business, and I have a lot of hosts underneath me in my company who all come to Dragon Con. And I tell them, you might get less panels than if you didn't know me. Because I have to make sure in my mind that I'm being fair, which means I'm going to err on the side of cutting the people that are my buddies. But everything's temporary. And that's the thing you need to understand. Everything changes. That bad boss or that person who got promoted above you, who was a buddy, lasted a year.
Yep.
I ended up leaving, and it was time for me to leave. But I ended up leaving an AV company I worked for because the guy, instead of bumping me up or one of the other crews up, and for 3-4 months, we ran that place. Without any issues, we ran that place. And it's a high-end hotel in Atlanta, and we kept every con going. They took the orders just like before, and they'd send it down. But our boss had left. So we would just get it. We'd make sure everything happened. But instead of even letting us interview for the spot, he brought in his buddy. The guy lasted like 3 years, tanked the profits. Everything went south. Most everybody quit. And they brought in more people because that's the reality of life, right? So what, you quit? There's always somebody who wants a job. They'll make something happen. And now he's gone. He left them in the lurch. But the people who stayed, or the good people who were hired underneath that, they're working hard and doing a good job. And some of my buddies who are still over there, they're doing way better now. They toughed out the storm where it was just not for me to do that. We talked about leaving. You said leaving if it's an organizational problem with the upside-down pyramid, you leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But ultimately, man, we can get so deep on that. But my point is, we tend to believe the good is going to last forever,
Right.
and then the bad is No, let me take that back. It's the reverse. We tend to believe that the good is going to go away tomorrow and the bad is going to last forever.
Right.
Instead of just being patient and going, why am I here? You know, I worked in a company that used me as a night supervisor, never once gave me a raise or a title. And when I actually one time tried to actually just making things run for them, which is what I did, because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care. Everything ran. People came to me. I helped them. Kept the problems away from their doorstep, which is what a supervisor does. I wrote somebody up because they were a piece of crap and couldn't do the job and had a bad attitude. And I was told I couldn't do that because I wasn't a supervisor. And I went, you've had me do all these other things, but because this becomes an HR thing, now you're giving me grief, and now he's going to last 3 more weeks because you're going to go through official channels instead of just give me I didn't even ask for a raise, just give me the title. I don't care. I just want to make this work.
Right.
And it didn't last. You know what? Different people came in, things changed, and I still did what I did. And that's what we have to remember. Before we get out of here, think of a time when you weathered the storm. Besides that one buddy, the buddy cop guy who got a year on you, but you had maybe a bad situation with a company, but you believed in what you were doing and what the heart of the company was, and you toughed it out and it became better. Is there a story you have for that?
Say, I'm sorry, I was reading.
All right. Okay, go to that. Whatever that is, read it.
It says, Donald says, sometimes new employees are more qualified than the people who have time invested. I remember this one Alabama medic who came in the service and rose quickly through the ranks. Happens and should motivate you to. It happens and should motivate you to get better.
Yeah.
Yep. You're correct.
Yeah.
And thank you, Donald.
There was. I was actually thinking about this guy the other day. I think his name was Seth, and we were medics about the same time. I've been a medic a little bit longer, but I did like. There was a big time in my life where I wasn't the go-getter. I was very much, you know what? Let me just ride. I'd rather play my video games, and now I've got a world where I can do that and make money, but that's neither here nor there. But then it's like, just leave me alone. Let me run my piddly calls, and I'll take this piddly pay, and, I'll suffer through life. And he was a go-getter. And I got mad at him because we started working in the same, we worked up in Conyers together. And, he was a little off. He's a little off, but he was what I call that 0 to hero, or 0 to 0, really is what I call it. Darren called me out the other day because you said that wrong. Like, no, I didn't. It's 0 to 0. You start off wanting to be a hero, and you go from nothing through EMT, AEMT, and then paramedic school with no experience, and you come out full-fledged paramedic, and you get put on a truck thinking you know everything most of the time. And you know nothing because you have no experience to balance the knowledge in your head. So you can't lead. You can't hardly treat a patient. You just have a bunch of knowledge in your head. Anyway, he was one of those, so that was a tick against him. I had a prejudice that I needed to change in my mind. And he was a little weird, so that was a prejudice. But then the last straw that for me was I played poker. I was an amateur poker player, and I made money at it. Well, for some reason, and I didn't talk about it. But for some reason, somebody found out he played poker. I'm like, oh, he plays poker. He's so amazing. I'm like, yeah, I play poker. I'm good at it. I'm actually on the amateur circuit, whatever, on the digital circuit, whatever. And but he wins money. I mean, it's just things like, no, but he's so much better. I was like, I think at that moment I probably just got angry. But I remember that story specifically as a mindset of mine that had to change of what was he doing differently. He was just owning who he was. He came out of school not thinking he knew everything. He wasn't a paragod, but he came out of school a little wet behind the ears. Well, that's just training and experience, right? That's just giving him a strong EMT partner or a strong paramedic partner to knock the new off of him and get a little dirt underneath his nails, and then he's a good medic. And that's exactly what happened. I was the issue. I had to change my mindset, and that happens too many times. That happens way too many times in the field of what Donald was talking about a go-getter coming up and moving through the ranks. People go, it ruffles feathers. Well, it's because you've gotten complacent.
Yep, and it should, and just like he said, it should spark you to, hey, we need to keep going.
One last thought I want to put out, and you can put out whatever you want. We can go as long as you want. But I know I'll talk forever. So for me, this is the last thing I put out. There is a restaurant in Miami. It's a chain now, Ceviche's, I think is what it's called. And I happen to be running the podcast that people interviewed him on, and he's talking about his hiring process. They get awards, and it's a higher end thing. They've established a really good restaurant. So he'll hire 2 top chefs for one spot, and they get full package for 6 weeks. And they know coming in, this is a competition. Basically, whoever works hardest and clicks best with the team, but it's not just people like you, but you click, because they're coming in at a high position. They're not starting on the line. They're running the kitchen or somewhere in between. So they both compete for that spot. And at the end, one person gets the full job, like they get to stay. The other person has gotten their pay for 6 weeks. They get a bit of a thank you but go away package, to make it worth their time to go look for another job. But they get a glowing recommendation letter. It's never, well, they were crap, and they stepped in and put their best, and here's the recommendation, so that it's easier to get another job. Yeah, like auditioning, and I love that idea. It won't work in our field because we're shorthanded. But you remember when Grady ran double medics and it was hard? You had to be a medic for 2 years before you could apply.
We were double medics, but
that was when this would have worked. Okay, both medics get the job. Who's going to do it better? Who's going to fill out that paperwork on time? Who's going to turn around and help the team and stop hanging out the hospital?
At the hospital, yeah. When you should be cleaning your trucks.
So, what else you got? Anything else about changing your mind? Everything changes, man.
That's it. Just also to the seasons change. I guess we're about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Just want to say something out there. Rest in peace, Jack Veckhart. He was a captain.
Yeah.
At Newton. Worked with him. He worked at DeKalb. He was a great guy, great paramedic. He's going to be very missed. So, thoughts and prayers with his family, and stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah, everything changes.
Yep.
That's the reality of our life. Yep. So I thought you were going to talk about football season.
No, not yet. It's not close enough yet. It's almost there.
Man, and be careful out there. It is deadly heat right now.
Deadly heat. Yep.
Index is 107, 108. It's actually hitting 100 degrees.
Probably 150 off the asphalt. So be careful out there.
Yeah. I know the humidity is staying down to a point, which is helpful, but I don't care. I've been in Vegas in August, and, those are dry heat, but it's still a killer heat. I mean, when it has 107, 108 directly on you, and
hot.
Like I said, asphalt.
I would just fry. See that white skin? Just fry.
Oh, I've had problems where I wasn't thinking. I knelt down by a patient and first degree burned my knee before I could get up. It's like, okay, we can't do that. So be careful. Stay hydrated. Park in the shade. I know a bunch of trucks are stationed on trucks out there, so find you shade to park in when you're waiting for calls. Plenty of ice. Keep plenty of ice. I know that's one thing National always did was they had ice makers, and they made sure you filled up those chests with ice.
Get nutrition. Stay hydrated.
Yep. The only real thing to announce for the schools, we've got the psychomotor coming up. You have to be registered by September 7th. It's open to everybody across the nation as long as you completed an advanced class somewhere and you got that PATT number.
When is it?
It's towards the end of September. I don't remember the exact date. I just know September 7th is the close date on it. So you have to get your PATT, go through our registration process and get us that PATT number.
The psychomotor, the exam's on the 7th.
The exam's on the 7th?
Yeah.
When's the close date? What page are you on?
On the front page.
Is it sure? You sure that's not a registration date?
It says NREMT psychomotor exam on September 7th, and I think
that's click it. It'll take you to the registration page.
Yeah, September 7th, 8:30. August 21st.
Oh crap! Well, you better get registered by next week, people.
Yeah.
So come on, get registered. So I remember the test date. So the test date's September 7th, but you gotta get registered now. So we need to make sure first thing next week we get all of our current AMT students. Start calling them and like, hey, get registered. Oh yeah, Donald. See, that's a good thing. Donald, he says dinosaurs are getting hard to find. That's the only way to truly change into the new era is have the old guard die off. Not literally die off, but retire out, step back.
Yep. Go do.
Yeah, I could go off for another hour on that, but I'm not. So, but thanks for watching. I had a video, and for some reason.
Facebook's not liking us.
It's not. Oop, wrong button. I don't know why it did that. It's not that Facebook isn't liking us. is I can't figure out how to get Switcher to play this video for some reason. But we have this opening. We're working on a cool opening. We've been working on it for a while. But yeah, I love Switcher though. It's really great.
Awesome.
So, all right, we'll be back next Thursday. Hey, hit us up. My email's right there, charles@gaiems.com.
Hit him up.
Hit us up with ideas, with things to talk about. I like what Joy's saying. Hey, you are saying a lot of great things, and you're really motivating us. I had a lot of people show up at my watch party. I'm not sure. People I saw join. It says they joined again. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I had a lot of people join.
And I'm actually
I don't know what that.
Checking one more thing here. But if you go to anchor.fm/Georgia Institute of EMS, and I believe it's hyphened out the way Anchor did it instead of one word. But you can look up Georgia Institute of EMS. We've got a podcast out there through anchor.fm. There's a couple episodes up. You can get that through Stitcher. I know we're on Stitcher. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. Still working on iTunes because once iTunes decides they're not going to talk to you, it's like pulling teeth. It's a pain in the butt. But there's one other thing I wanted to check. I don't think that's right. I think it's 911 Studios. 911 Studios. See if this is up. It is not up yet. Is that right, Craig? We're working on the Patreon page, and I think it's in the last stages of being approved. So we'll have a way for you to support the show and other different things that we put out in the media, we put out and different things like that pretty soon. So if you like what we do, make sure you subscribe on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, whatever it is. However you find us, subscribe, follow, like, share, all the internet bojangles that are out there.
Please,
and
it helps.
We'll be back next week. Now, I know the site that's about to come up says Fridays 2:30. I'm still changing that out. I have a new graphic. I thought the video was going to have the new graphic, and the video didn't run. So we'll do it Thursdays at 3 o'clock. For now, check out the page. It'll always let you know when we're live. And thanks for coming out and watching us today.
Thank you.